So when you have that in your mind, and then you're insecure about a certain body part, like yeah, like who says it's supposed to be a certain way,
Kayo.
right?
And you're sometimes even though who you're comparing yourself to,
Yeah.
right? It's not that realistic.
Yeah.
For example, if I compare myself to the West, definitely I won't look anything like them,
Yeah.
diba? But if I look at our local shows and all that, the more you resonate.
Yeah.
The same with I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring in Bretman Rock here, where he said, I saw myself on TV. All he did was flip the channel, and then he
Okay.
went to the TFC channel. So
Okay.
it's all Filipinos, and he resonated with himself there. So
Yeah.
you choose who your influencers are gonna be, or who you want to inspire yourself to. So
Yeah, but yeah, the problem is, I think, when you say you choose your influencers, you choose your content, you sort of curate what you watch, right? But sometimes, like especially when you're young, you don't have a hold of what to watch, right? And even if you do have agency, like if you're on your phone, sometimes like there are things that you don't plan to see, and then you see it, right?
Yeah.
So although it takes a lot of effort to curate what you watch, what you expose yourself to, but still at the end of the day, it is the algorithm that decides what you're able to see, right?
Well, that's true, but I think the generation now, they're a little more blessed in that portion, because now they can curate their own feed and what they see, unlike us. When we grew up, it was whatever was on the TV. We didn't have cable, so
Yeah, ang kapait sa nakapait sa ng curation is now you're building a wall. Now you're building a bubble.
yeah.
Now it's just people who agree with you, and
Yeah.
and you don't have people who disagree with you. But once you get in contact with the real world, then like,
Yeah, there's so many things that you realize
Yeah,
that's out of your screen.
yeah, and you don't know that, hey, okay. So lisod sa ba, that's why I'm not a big fan of curation when it comes to what you watch. I mean, I do and sometimes it's just the algorithm that does the
Yeah.
curating. It's not even me that does that. But I always try to look at the opposite side of what I believe in, because sometimes if you just constantly surround yourself with people of the same ideology, the same beliefs, the same persuasions, then you don't grow. You become this person that just is so enclosed.
I agree. There was this one that I also heard before, where if you don't cringe at who you were before, that means you never grew.
Yeah.
So it's also a good thing if there's something about yourself from before that you're, that might not have been the best right now.
Yeah.
Because that means you've learned things and you've added more to your knowledge and your biases.
Are you the kind that writes stuff down? Do you do that?
Yes.
Do you have like a journal?
Yeah.
Oh.
Diary. I'm
Like,
so old school. It's a diary.
It's just like a pen and paper thing. Diary.
yeah,
it's,
pen
it's
and
not,
paper.
It's not digital.
No. I
Okay.
tried the digital one. and
How
it
how
just doesn't
long
work.
how long has it been that you've been journaling? You're writing your
Probably
thoughts?
since 5th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you still have it.
I have it, but those that were older, there was a point in my life where I was so angry, I burned all of it, and I
Wow.
regret it
Wow.
100%.
So what do you have access to now? What year? From how many years ago?
High school,
Wow.
college,
Okay.
yeah.
So how does it feel to read your thoughts from 5-10 years ago?
I did that a few years ago, and I didn't want to keep reading because I realized I was so sad before.
Okay.
I was going through what I said, and it just wasn't the greatest parts of my life. I
Okay.
think with the things that I wrote more, I realized they were more unhappy memories than happy. So after reading those, I also made sure to be able to write things that I want to remember. If I do end up reading whatever I wrote again 5 years from now.
One of my favorite quotes is, "Happiness is forgetfulness."
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So if it was so important, then you'll probably remember it, right? But if it wasn't that important, or if it was like a bad thing, hopefully you don't remember it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So because I think that's really one of the biggest stressors of our lives, right? Either we're not present, right? We always look back or we always look forward to something, but we're not here and now, right? So once we go through the process of looking back at things and how beautiful things once
But that's the
were.
funny thing. That's the funny thing because I started writing because I am very forgetful. And
Okay.
there were like some things I didn't want to forget. So it started with, the agenda for the day. I had to write
Okay.
it down. And then it became so big I had to journal.
Okay.
And then that's where everything started. And until now, there's still some things I can't remember if I don't write them down or I don't take a photo
Okay.
of it. So there are some where I meet them. I think there was one recently. I met her in my dad's office, and she
Okay.
was like, "Hey, we met and we went to Jollibee together," and I didn't remember that at all.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. There's the you want to forget, and then there's me where I need to remember, so I have to write things down.
Very interesting.
Something to think about.
Remembering. You're right. I mean, like I forget a lot of things. I'm actually also a very forgetful person. I even forget where I parked the car sometimes,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
in one of those malls, right? It's so confusing. So I have to take a photograph. And yeah, memory is a weird thing. But somebody said that somebody once said that one of the worst kinds of evidence in the courtroom is a eyewitness account, because we actually
That's true.
don't remember things correctly most of the time, especially if it happened like a long time ago. Sometimes something happens to that memory, and sometimes it changes. There have been several experiments about like two people who live in the same household, and something traumatic happened to them, and they all witnessed to this same
They have different accounts.
traumatic incident, and then they have different accounts of that memory, which is weird. So they say that the worst kind of evidence is eyewitness
Eyewitness.
accounts, because it's not very reliable, because we don't remember things clearly in our head. So that's writing it down, I guess, makes it easier to remember it correctly, right?
Well, if you look at it in that sense, you're writing down what you witnessed. So,
But see, the thing is, probably time might have changed that thing that you were trying that happened a long time ago, right? Maybe the way you look at it is different now because of what you know now,
yeah.
right? So you probably have more mature eyes or whatnot, right? You have a more sophisticated way of looking at the thing that you remembered as this. So,
Very true.
right?
Yeah, that actually makes
And
sense.
your song is called Rumors, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering because rumors are what things kanang mga libakera, mga libakero, mga istorya nga dili tinuod mo man rumors, di ba?
Yeah, that's rumors.
So what is this song all about?
Well, it was just really a playful song at
Okay.
first. And just a little quick fact: the very first thing that we wrote a version of Rumors that's never gonna be out now because it's not what it is now. And the very first the line that stuck from there to the rumors that you hear now would be wrist and bracelet cuffs.
What?
Wrist in
Okay.
bracelet cuffs.
What is that?
It's a vivid picture of just like your wrist and your handcuffed.
Okay.
And that was the one that stayed from the very first version of Rumors. Also Inappropriate was there, but that was the line that really stuck, and we
Okay.
really wanted to keep at it, even if we had to change the song a few times. And it became such a playful song, but then it sounded very, I don't know if it sounds a little inappropriate. And then it recalled like this.
Well, it
this-
sounded like you were angry about something, because you were like like you don't give you don't give
Yeah.
you don't give an F, right? So what is that thing that you don't give an F about?
This was very heavily inspired from my teenage years
Okay.
growing up.
Wow,
So
okay.
there was there were lots of rumors about me.
Okay.
Sleeping around and
Oh.
going around and all that. So
Okay.
that's where it came from.
Okay.
And then now it's just a memory. I turned it into
So you
a
were
fun
you were accessing a part of you that's no longer true, right? Is that what it was?
It was never true.
Yeah, that's why.
So that's why they were rumors
Okay.
about me. There were rumors about me
Doing this and doing
doing
that.
this and doing that. That's
Okay.
why I'm kind of. I was very angry about it before, so that's where you hear a little
So-
bit of the angst.
Was this like a kind of a release this song
Oh yeah.
for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. That has been in my tiny little heart for the longest time, and
But see, the thing with rumors is they will never stop, right? I mean, like, sure, you had rumors of you, whatever it was that you were heard of doing whatnot, right? And then now, I mean, rumors there will always be rumors. So do you have a different approach now? Murag medyo kung makadungog ka og rumors about you, do you like have a different approach now?
oh yes, I don't take it as personally as I did before. So
Okay.
maybe that's why this one was different, because it was the memory I tapped when I was young, where
Okay.
I couldn't let go of it for the longest time. Like, why would people think about this of me? What did I do to make them think of me like this? Probably
Okay.
I had some sort of impression or things that I did definitely before that
Okay.
made people probably think that.
Okay.
But now, because I've bombarded.
But how do you have access to the rumor mongers in the first place? Because you have to have access to these people, right?
Oh, yeah,
mga chismis ni siya.
Kayo.
Maybe sa imong mga amiga,
Yeah.
gistoryaan silang inani kuno ka and
you have
all that stuff,
you
right?
have very good friends na di tayo, uy, nakoy nadunggan. Kanang niingon si ingan
Ani
mo.
kuno, ana,
Oh, ingan na. So that's how I got it at first.
Okay.
And then suddenly, common friends, mutual friends.
Okay.
So people I've never met before. And you're like, uy, I heard
Tinood na,
ingani.
oh. Oh.
So confirmation. So that's how I hear about it. It's usually all talk.
Yeah.
I've never got so far as I know, I've never had an experience where I had a page dedicated to me, like a hate page.
Okay.
Because I've had I know of somebody who's had that experience.
Okay.
But mine was more talk,
Okay.
more verbal.
You know, they're saying if it's either they hate you or they love you, but they can't ignore you. Either they hate you or they love you, they can't ignore you. So if you're doing something substantial, if you're doing something brave, if you're doing something strong or whatnot, then people will either love it or hate it, right? And then, but if you just tiptoe your way into life, then of course nobody will talk about you.
Yeah.
So I think whether they love you or they hate you, at least they're thinking about you, and that's a good thing.
Is it a good thing?
Especially now in the world of social media,
That
right?
you want to be relevant?
Yeah, yeah. Especially now in the world of social media, people don't really care about what people talk about them. But as long as they're talking about them, it's fine. I mean, they can always, with the proper PR, with the proper branding and marketing, the thing that people hate about them is it's the thing that makes them big, right?
Yeah.
Because we are so concentrated in different tribes and different persuasions and different ways of being, ways of thinking, that whether you're the person that does this, there's a group for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's always you always have a tribe.
Yeah. Now
No-
you can tap a niche.
Yeah. So no matter how horrible a person you are or how great a person you are, there's always a group of people who can associate with you and becomes your tribe, right?
Yeah, I think that's
That's kind of weird world, right?
yeah. At least now you have more access to that. You can find the people for you much easier.
But
now
what
than
does that
before.
even mean? What does people for you mean? I mean, like, aren't we all the same? Aren't we all part of this thing called life? Aren't we all human Homo sapiens?
Well, yeah,
Are
but
we part of humanity?
we've had our own experiences and we've had our own biases growing up,
Yeah.
and that's not the same for everybody.
Yeah.
So
The word bias, it can be a good thing and can be a
yeah,
bad thing
it
too,
can be-
right?
yeah,
So
both sides.
so
You have your own stereotypes too growing up, and there are people who would agree and there are people who won't agree, and when you
How do
think
you-
they're your
how do you
people-
deal with your biases?
There are biases that I have growing just because I've experienced them growing up, or I
Okay.
got used to them growing up,
Okay.
and then there are some biases that I learned.
Okay.
So new information comes in, and then that's something I stick to longer, and I realize, oh, my past knowledge of this is not most probably correct,
Okay.
and then they became additional biases to me. But that's probably it's really more influence in what you expose yourself to regarding bias. So somebody that's not very knowledgeable or have bias about something that's probably not true now may have had less access to certain information that they need. That's very technical of me to say.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Continue.
It's very technical for me to say.
This is what it's all about.
But a very healthy person is
Okay.
a person that strives for knowledge.
Okay.
And try to challenge him or herself with what they think and what they do.
Okay.
If it's still correct, or if it's still what they think is right now, or probably it's wrong.
So are there
now.
biases before? Let's go back to that teenager, the teenager Steffi.
Yeah.
Were there biases in your teenage life that you don't believe anymore, and you no longer hold to be true?
Oh, this is such a hot take.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was younger, I thought it was okay. You know, you have friends that are guys and you have friends that are women, and you. When I was younger, I would treat them all the same.
Okay.
So I would be very affectionate to my women friends, and I would be very affectionate to my guy friends. And
Okay.
then that's not a very smart thing to do right now. There should be a line of boundaries. I never had boundaries when I was younger. I was very open about myself too, and a lot of people had access to me.
Okay.
I was too much of an open book, and that's not something I am now. I tend to choose what I
Maybe because
want.
of what happened
Oh,
to
yeah,
you, right?
yeah.
All these
Because of what happened.
rumors, right?
Yeah.
So you did not become this person because that was the natural progression of things. It happened to you. Something happened to you. That's why you sort of changed your who you are, right?
Well, yeah, but aside from because of what happened to me, for the longest time, I really thought that there was nothing wrong that I did too.
What too?
It wasn't wrong, like me being affectionate and being
Yeah,
super
yeah.
open, being all
There's,
access.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with that even now. I feel like
Well, yes, mine was from experience, but also because I went and delved into certain topics in the internet space where how dangerous it also can be to be super open about yourself and not to choose what you tell your.
I mean, like we're talking about your friends here. We're not talking about strangers, right?
Yeah.
So if you're open to your friends, these are your friends, right? So that's fine. Unless you have you give access to strangers to your life, either male or female, then that's another story. But these are your friends we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
So
but
why would there be any boundaries? The same boundaries as a woman friend is the same boundaries as a man friend, right? Unless it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
How do you make your boundaries?
well, the more I grew up, the more I realized that you can't keep 20 close friends.
No,
So-
I have more than 5,000 close friends.
Well, good for you. Good for you. That was something I wanted.
5,000.
Mine was
And that's because there's a limit, right? I could have like 1 million friends.
So that's your limit, 1 million friends. You can't have 1 trillion friends.
No, but
no?
if you think about it, there are 8 billion people in the world, right? So I have to have at least 1% of that. Anyway, so you were saying you can't have more than 20 friends.
Yeah, I can have, let's say 50, 20 friends, but I don't think everybody has to be as close to me or have the same access as each other.
Yeah.
So I don't have boundaries when it comes to friends. Like I don't have boundaries in the idea of friends. So
Okay.
you're a work friend, you're a high school friend, you're a college friend,
Okay.
you're a mutual friend. So all of them are practically friends to me.
Okay.
But there are friends that I really, really trust.
Okay.
And there are friends that I really would I would depend my life on them kind
Okay.
of friends. But that's not all the people I meet.
Okay.
Unlike when I was younger, where even if you're if I was me right now, even if you were my work friend or my college friend or somebody I just met a day before, I would give you the same access about me and to me as other friends I've met probably 10 years now. So that was not a very good experience for me.
So friends are like they say like it's like a garden, right? I mean, like if you can't take care of all of them, and some of them will rot, some of them will die eventually if you don't take care of them because friends are like plants.
I had a hard time grasping the idea of them dying in my garden. I didn't want any of the flowers or the plants to die in my garden.
Okay.
So I think that was why I really try to be the most available as I can be to as many people as I can.
Maybe you're like a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of because like some people are also like that. Like that's part of their insecurity. They want to be people pleasers. They just want they just want everybody to love them and all that stuff, right?
I am a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't like anybody to hate you, right? And that's hard.
It's very hard.
That's not the way. That's not a way to live, right?
And then if you imagine, I was a people pleaser, probably still am right now. I don't know. I have to look into that.
Yeah.
And everything that people had to say about me was negative.
Okay.
So I really like tried my best to exhaust.
Maybe you try too hard sometimes, right?
Yeah, that probably it. Yeah.
But see, the thing with friends, because we have like high school friends, college friends, right? Or friends from work. And you mentioned you categorized all of them. But see, the thing with people is that people change, right? They become different. Like a high school friend that you haven't met or haven't seen in like 5-10 years. And you talk to them and you feel like this is not the person that I knew 10 years ago.
No, not
right?
the same. No.
So how do you make sure that your friendships you don't become strangers? Is that just a matter of getting in touch with each other? Is that because kind of high school ka, you practically are with them for your entire high school life, right? So you're exposed to the same teachers and the same environment more or less, right? So you sort of like grow together to kind of similar direction, right?
Yeah.
So magsinabot ra gyud mo,
Yeah.
right? Pero kung imuhang amiga, for example, nilarga, or ikaw nilarga ka, or maybe you went to another school, right?
Yeah.
And once you see each other, you become like different people, right? Do you still consider them friends because they're no longer the person that you were friends with 5 years ago?
Personally, yes, still a friend because we grew up together and there was no bad blood between us or nothing like drastic happened for us to not be friends anymore. So they're still friends, but college, high school.
So you talk about the good old days all the time, right?
Good old days and then catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, pero maybe like delving
So what
deep.
if maybe he became this other person that maybe, let's just say, you hate.
Ooh.
Like there's a trait in him that that you don't like because he became this whatever person.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's probably like a acquaintance now
okay.
rather than a friend.
So you're no
They're
longer,
on levels.
You're no. So how do you do that? Like, do you have like a list? Do you have like?
Oh no, not a list. Oh my gosh, whoever does that
is that in your diary?
No.
You are no longer my close friend. You are down here because Facebook allows you to do that, right?
Oh yeah,
social media does that. Like
yeah,
Instagram,
they allow
like
you
your close
to do that
friends,
now.
right?
Crazy. The feature of Facebook and Instagram now doing close friends, I don't do it. I can't grasp it. I can't keep up with who my close friends are now or who my acquaintances are or whatever.
Okay.
I don't write those in my diary. That's ridiculous. Whoever does that is a very interesting person.
Yeah.
I would like to know the thoughts.
Yeah.
But maybe mine is more when I meet them, and then when I meet them again after the longest time, and then that's when I have my own judgment. Like, oh, we were super close before, and then now we can't seem to connect to each other, and that might not be my favorite person right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I'd probably stick to how it was before, that we don't talk, and that we only say hi, hello when we see each other or come across each other. For some, maybe let's say, oh, I realize that there's more similarities now that we've experienced life, then most probably I would want to keep in touch with them, even if they're all the way in half across the world.
So if there's a trait in a friend who was your close friend 5, 10 years ago, and then he developed this trait that you no longer like. Do you tell him, "Hey, you're not that person that I knew 5 years ago. What happened to you?" And then, do you ask that kind of question? Are you curious about how they became who they are? And do you try to fix that trait, or you just embrace that thing that you don't like about that person because na may pinagsamahan, di ba?
Yeah, yeah.
You were childhood friends, like you said, right? Or
Kaya.
do you try to change that thing that you don't like? Do you just embrace that thing that you don't like about that person because na mo man may pinagsamahan?
Yeah.
How do you treat that?
Oh, well, there are some na I do ask how's your life been? It's really just like that. I don't really say uy kana.
Noon sa
really
man ka.
na-
Noon sa man
I
ka.
don't really say uy noon sa naman ka dili man eh." No, I don't
yeah,
really
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
I just be like, "Oh, how have you been? What have you been up to?" Right? And then sometimes the conversation really goes deep, and then you
Yeah.
realize why
Wow.
they are what they are.
Oh, let me give you an example lang, because these are the sort of like the this is what causes fissures. This is what causes divisions. This is what causes fights. Let's just say politics, for example,
oh my
right?
gosh, yeah.
Like you knew this person from 5, 10 years ago, right? And you have your own political beliefs, right? You have a person that you believe is the best person to run the country, for example. You have a president, or maybe a mayor or a governor or whatever, right?
Yeah,
a
that you
senator.
really believe in.
You have this feeling about this group of people, and all of a sudden your friend shows up and says, "Hey, I believe in the enemy of your political color," right?
Yeah.
So and they're so also as sold as you are, but they're the complete opposite. do you consider that a deal breaker for a friendship?
Politics, not really a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
Because it's always going to be divided and like different with each other. I know that there are some that don't believe in that. Like they would rather choose their friends, and yeah, but politics not really a big thing for me, but I do engage in healthy discussions. There are some people that believe in certain politicians really strongly and really loudly.
Yeah.
I don't get into that conversation.
Okay.
That's not a conversation I think I'm ready to have.
Okay.
I'm not very loud, but I can't be too aggressive with even in my personality trait of things that I believe in.
Okay.
So I feel like that's too much of a high energy conversation to even be in.
That you don't want to have.
Yeah, that I don't want to have. And
So but you will. So that's not a deal breaker for you.
No,
so that,
not a deal breaker.
That means that your friend, although he believes in somebody that you hate so much, for example, that's fine with you because that's just his belief in terms of who he believes is the best person to run this country.
Well, I do try to sway it a little bit, but I don't get in the way so much of it and think like that's not somebody I don't ever want to associate with, because the way I understand it is there might be some things or some information that he really probably gravitated towards that he really needed to gravitate
but aren't
towards.
you curious about that friend who believes in the complete opposite of what you believe in? Because you went to the same school, for example. This is your classmate you're talking about, and you knew who he was or she was, and this was his persuasion back then. You were so idealistic back then, and he has become this person, the complete opposite of what you have become as far as your political persuasion is. Aren't you curious that how did you get there, man?
Yeah,
Would you ask that question?
I try to. If the conversations are very healthy and level-headed, I really try to.
But isn't that a safe space? Because you're with a friend, so you can talk about anything.
Not all the time. No, not all the time. You can't talk about anything with anyone. There are some supercharged topics. That sometimes
you can't even talk
get into.
Even with your close friends.
Oh yeah. There really are.
Like what, for example? Like I can talk to my friend about anything. Like, well, what do you mean? What do you have to hide? These are your friends. This is like the family that you choose, right?
Yeah.
So what could it be? What are the things that are supercharged and you can't talk about with your friends?
Much easily that comes to mind is trauma.
Okay.
So sometimes there are certain traumas that I would not be very comfortable talking about. So it's usually like that.
Okay.
So there are close friends that I can talk to, so they have a general idea of what I'm feeling, what I've been to, and all that.
Okay.
But there are some conversations I'm not ready to talk about.
Do you have like a specialist? Do you if you don't mind me asking you, I mean, it's still still has a stigma here in this country, but in some parts of the world, it's fine. In
Open,
fact,
yeah.
everybody talks to a shrink. Everybody talks to
Yeah.
a psychiatrist or psychologist. Do you have anybody like that you can talk to? Have you tried?
No, I haven't tried.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I'm ready.
What do you mean?
I don't know if I'm ready to talk to a specialist, honestly. I think there's so many things to delve in there that I'm not ready to delve into. But I've been very healthy about myself.
Okay.
So that's what I would like to believe in, that I've been healthy about myself.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there were coping mechanisms when I was young that are not my coping mechanisms now. They were very unhealthy coping mechanisms.
You know, I happen to believe that we are the last people to know who we are. Ourselves. We don't know ourselves. We don't know us. We only know of us when we deal with other people. When our energies bounce off with other people. I only know me because I'm with you now. And I only know me because I see my image on the screen on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok, right? I only know me because I'm listening to my voice right now. But that's the only way I can know of me. So my own self-appreciation is not as good as perhaps the way other people think of me. In fact, I think the algorithm of Facebook and Instagram and TikTok knows me more
then you know yourself.
than I know myself, even my mom. So what do you think of that we don't really know us?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think you ever really know yourself. I think you don't even have that much time to think and really look into yourself. Because for me, the number one question, honestly, for me is how? How do I even really sit with myself and know myself?
They say that meditation is one of the ways for you to sort of have a kind of a glimpse of the self, of who you are, right? Because you're all alone meditating, and you listen to your thoughts and you listen to your breath. And
Can you meditate? Do you have the ability to meditate?
I try my best, and I do that when I walk my dog every morning. I still have my hand on the thing,
On a leash.
and then the leash, and I try to meditate. But once Copernicus or my dog moves, then I have to move, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's a beautiful feeling, especially if it's early in the morning.
Oh yeah,
and it's like
I think there's a certain time of the
5 a.m.
day.
right, when there's nobody around.
Yeah. There's a certain time of the day that helps you be in that space.
Yeah.
I tried.
Okay.
I can't.
Okay.
My head's so noisy.
I know, right?
Like I try to think, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to wash the dishes. Oh my gosh, my laundry. Those are the things that pop up in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But do you acknowledge that that's a problem? That it's a problem that we have all these noises in our heads and we can't control it. Do you acknowledge that as a problem, or do you just let it be?
I don't know about problem, and I don't know about letting it be.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's a one fit for all. So let's say I don't think meditation is what would work for the 8 billion people in the world.
Of course not.
Yeah. But
Meditation is like it's a muscle. It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
It needs practice. You need to exercise the meditation muscle.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the better you become at it, right? And of course, we don't start good at anything, right? So the more you do it, the you become like.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good to start young, start early. I think our educational system must be able to provide a kind of meditation practice course or whatnot, right?
Well, yeah, I do believe that you would. It's healthy to really look into yourself and get to know yourself better. But I think there's very many ways to do it. Like for me, I find peace in the noise in my brain. So I think that's why I have a hard time.
You find peace in the noise. Explain to me what the hell does that mean? You find peace in the noise. I remember one of my favorite quotes from the movie Tron Legacy when the main character of the movie said, "Chaos, good news." That's actually a kind of meditative practice to embrace the chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So explain to me. Why do you find peace in the chaos?
I think I like being busy.
Okay.
That's probably it. I like having things to do, and that means having something on my mind all the time. So
Okay.
it's usually what eats up my brain most of the time is the things I have to do.
Okay.
And I really like having a checklist.
Okay.
It's the downfall of me as well, because if I can't tick all of my checklists, it drives me crazy. But I feel comfort, like there's some sort of routine in me when there's always something going on in my mind. Like, hey, after this interview, I have to do this, or tomorrow I'm flying to wherever. And it's a very, I don't know. I find good feelings knowing that there's things I have to do every day.
You know, I think it was Viktor Frankl who said, the existential vacuum manifests itself in a state of boredom. The existential vacuum manifests itself in the state of boredom. So, meaning to say, if you're bored out of your mind, then all of these thoughts arise. You know, these existential thoughts.
Oh,
Why
yes.
am I here? Why? What am I doing in this life? You know, what am I here for? And all of that stuff. It only happens if you're bored, right? Na nag-ingon manggali nga ang atong mga problema, tanang problema nato nagsugod na kay na bored ta because we had to do something. Ang ako yung pirmi na akong isulti sa nang gawas pa mong sa cave. Good. You know what I mean? Like nagsugod ato mga problema because we were not satisfied with the boredom. We were not satisfied with what is. We had to look for something bigger, better, greener.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is the human condition. And I think it is our responsibility to kind of whip it to shape. I think, because do you think that that doing something all the time is sustainable? Do you think that
Of course not.
You'll be kicking and screaming till your grave?
Yeah, of course
To your
not.
grave. Do you think that's sustainable, or this is just a feature of youth?
I don't know about feature of youth.
Okay.
There are some older people that I meet that also still love to grind,
Okay.
and hustle and bustle.
Okay.
Maybe personally, it's some sort of my own coping mechanism, I guess.
Okay,
Knowing
okay.
that I can be important because there's people that might depend on me
Okay.
during these agendas
Okay.
of the day. But I don't think it's sustainable at all. I think there should be that time where I'm resting.
Okay.
I'm feeling
So-
bored. I think there should be a time where I should feel bored.
So there's a stigma good of that word bored. Like murag wa mo kay gibuhat, di ba? Wa mo kay gibuhat. You're not doing anything, right? Yeah, ikaw, for example, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Why am I not doing anything?
Kayo.
But so you do acknowledge that you need to be bored.
Oh yes.
So how do you bore yourself? To death?
I don't know how. That's the thing.
How do you
Diba?
bore yourself?
I don't know how. I think one of the things is like really just giving a good even 5 minutes na naglingkod lang na wala.
Just be still.
Yeah,
But-
I cannot be still.
So what? That again, the existential vacuum manifests
Yeah.
itself in the
Well,
state
I
of boredom. So after
tried.
5 minutes of stillness,
Wala. I cannot sustain it. It should probably be a practice I should have.
yeah,
So,
you should.
Yeah,
you sound
yeah.
like it. In case you're wondering who you're listening to, mga kaigalan, this is Steffi. She's a recording artist. We just played her song a few moments ago, and we're very thankful that she's here. And I'm sure she's going to be a very big star soon. And I hope you'll still be visiting us here in
Aw.
studios. Okay, Steph?
Yes, definitely. I'll be visiting, and you'll know if I'm on other platforms as well.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
please do that. I hope you have you make more music like
Thank
that.
you. I hope I do.
So before I let you go, Steffi, why don't you invite them to download your music and maybe subscribe to your social media platforms and tell us whatever how we can support how we can support you.
Okay.
Because 105.1 TMZ is a support group. What we do is we support local artists as much as we can. So that's why we're playing your song
We love your
nonstop.
vision.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love your vision.
Okay.
But thank you. Yes. So currently you can only hear me on the radio,
Okay.
but there's things coming up. Hope my song will be available on Spotify. We're looking at YouTube as well. And my announcements will be on Instagram, my personal Instagram for now. So it's just Steffi on Instagram.
At It's Just Steffi. Okay. STEFFI.
Yeah, STEFFI.
Okay.
And then, definitely looking into creating more music. And that's, hopefully I can visit again and talk about it.
Okay. And before I finally let you go, this is the final thing I have to ask you before I let you go.
Yeah.
Because in the song, you said you don't give an F, right? If there's one thing, or what were you singing about in that particular song? What is the thing that you don't give a rat's ass about? What is the thing
my
that you don't give an
rumors.
F? What is that?
My rumors that aren't true. Things that I haven't done before that people say I do.
So those are the
That's
things
not- yeah.
that you don't give an F about.
Yeah, no, that's off my mind for now. You believe what you want to believe.
All right.
Thanks, Jiggy.
Here's Steffi one more time. She doesn't give an F about it. Whether you believe her or not, it's all up to you. But that's beyond her role of control, right?
Yes.
On 105.1 TMC.